Hi, Max Brantley with the Arkansas Times on Thursday, September the 1st. Lots of the news today are about elections in November, ballot issue elections on constitutional amendments and an initiated act that voters will have to consider. The news today is that the Secretary of State has said sufficient signatures were turned in to qualify a casino gambling amendment for the ballot. This measure would allow 3 new casinos in Arkansas, all to be owned by the companies that are putting this amendment on the ballot. One perhaps would be operated by the Cherokee Nation in Washington County. One thing that's uncertain at this point is whether some of traditional opponents of casino amendments, particularly the casinos at Oaklawn Park and Southland Park in West Memphis, will rise up in either legal or campaign opposition to this amendment. It certainly represents an incursion on their business. In the past, they've tended to oppose these sorts of things. Elsewhere, a second lawsuit was filed today over the amendment that would limit damages and medical lawsuits against nursing homes and other health care providers. This second lawsuit by a committee that stands up for nursing home patients says that the ballot title is misleading. It doesn't talk about how significantly this changes the law. But it also says that the backers of this amendment, though they spent a significant sum on a private petition canvassing group, failed to comply with the very tricky rules in Arkansas law on getting criminal background checks, for example, on paid canvassers, and making sure that you don't have improper signatures on pages, which can sometimes cause legitimate signatures to be thrown out. They ask for a special master to hear the evidence. They think the amendment should be thrown off the ballot. Late yesterday, after we recorded yesterday, the Secretary of State approved a second medical marijuana amendment. So at this moment, there will be 2 medical marijuana proposals on the ballot, one an amendment, one an initiated act. One's for-profit sales, one's for nonprofit sales. One lawsuit has already been filed. As of yet, we don't know how that's going to shake out. In other courts in other states, Attorney General Leslie Rutledge of Arkansas doesn't have enough to do in Arkansas, so she's filing suit elsewhere. She joined Texas and others in a federal court filing in North Carolina that asked a federal court to not stop enforcement of HB 2, that state's highly controversial anti-LGBT law. The Attorney General of Arkansas thinks it's very important that the University of North Carolina not be forced to allow transgender students, 2 of them who sued, to be allowed to use the restroom of their choice. She has not yet moved on illegal payday lending operations in Arkansas, too busy hassling transgender students in North Carolina. Speaking of religious freedom, which underlies some of these arguments in the sexual orientation case, a case has arisen in Indiana over that state's religious freedom protection law. A woman says that it's her religious right to hit or punish her child with a coat hanger. Arkansas has a Religious Freedom Protection Act as well, same as Indiana does. It can have unintended consequences like this. Of course, in Arkansas, we're a state that often cites religious freedom in wanting to use corporal punishment on children. Hitting children is still legal in Arkansas schools. We're one of only 19 states that allow that. We always contest with Mississippi to use corporal punishment. Most often, we generally cite a religious reason for using this sort of punishment to hit children. Yesterday in El Dorado, a federal judge ruled that the El Dorado School District may exempt itself from the school choice law because it's under a federal desegregation order that prohibits white students in the district from fleeing to neighboring white flight school districts. There have been supporters of school choice who've vigorously fought this. The State Board of Education now has failed in 3 different places, Garland County, in El Dorado, and also in Jacksonville, to force school districts into using school choice, even when most of the people who are experts in the matter agree this will contribute to segregation. Yes, the state of Arkansas is officially attempting to aid segregation in Arkansas 62 years after Brown versus Board of Education. Kind of a sad note. A state police commander in Fort Smith, Stephen Davis, has been arrested on a misdemeanor charge of loitering by the Fort Smith police. Undercover cops accuse him of an improper sexual deal being struck with undercover officers, just to put it as nicely as possible. Walmart, the big retail store chain based in Arkansas, says it's going to lay off 7,000 back office workers in stores around the country. Certainly there'll be some affected in Arkansas. And this morning, an evidence of the trouble police officers sometimes face trying to serve a drug warrant in Granite Mountain, Arkansas, just south of Little Rock. Shots were fired. A man was injured by police gunfire. No officers were hurt. The man who was shot apparently will be okay. That's the news from Arkansas today. I'm Max Brantley.